Waving flags, supporters of Donald Trump flocked to his Florida home, angry at the FBI raid of his Mar-a-Lago property.
I think it's another unjust, made-up thing like the impeachment hoaxes.
President Trump is investigated because they're scared that he's running, and he will win again.
I know what this is all about. Weaponize DOJ, weaponize FBI, weaponize the IRS. That's what they've been doing.
The former US president was reportedly in Trump Tower in New York City when the raid took place. But in a lengthy statement, he said his Mar-a-Lago home was under siege, raided and occupied by a large group from the FBI, and agents broke into his safe. The search was reportedly connected to the earlier retrieval of official White House documents from his Florida home, which Mr. Trump should have turned over after his presidency.
15 boxes of classified material had been found at Mar-a-Lago. That discovery was referred to the Justice Department after the National Archives found that material. So it's possible that they were looking for any additional classified material that the former president may have taken with him to his residence.
So far, the FBI has declined to comment. The raid of a former president's home is unprecedented. And for a search warrant to be executed, the FBI would have had to show cause that Donald Trump had committed a crime.
If a judge issued this warrant, if there was a judge that said, yes, you can go ahead and search a presidential residence, there has to be some compelling evidence out there.
The former president didn't mention the raid during a phone rally for a Republican candidate. In a statement, he said he believes the raid was politically motivated, designed to prevent him from running for president again in 2024. Talia Alatia, ABC News.
Let's get more from Senior Advisor at the United States Study Centre, Jared Monshine, who is with us out of Sydney. Jared, good to talk. Tell us, what sort of sign-off would a raid like this have had to have had?
Yeah, an FBI raid on a former president's property is no small matter, and it's unprecedented. This was likely signed off by FBI Director Christopher Wray, who is a registered Republican and was appointed by Donald Trump. And it was probably likely signed off by Attorney General Merrick Garland, who folks may remember as President Obama's nominee for the Supreme Court. I'm not a lawyer, but I imagine that the issue here was not just mere document retention. It's probably something a lot bigger than that, to take this unprecedented step, because it's simply not very easy to get a federal search warrant, let alone one against a former U.S. president.
Yeah, indeed. And, you know, I would imagine that the Attorney General, who is believed to be beyond reproach, you know, a bit like General Mueller was when he launched his investigation, it must be important to be seen as apolitical.
That's exactly right. So to get the sort of sign-off for this, I sincerely doubt that someone like Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray would ever decide to take this unprecedented step without bulletproof evidence. But ultimately, I think we have more questions than we do answers on this. I mean, what could possibly merit this unprecedented step of a surprise search of a former president? There has to be a high degree of probable cause to merit this. And what sort of evidence does the FBI have? You know, why did the FBI choose to do this now? And what specifically were they looking for? And did they find it? And putting aside the fact that it's exceedingly unlikely, in my opinion, that you could find a jury of 12 Americans to convict President Trump in a criminal trial, will this ultimately lead to charges? And we just don't know. And I imagine we probably won't know for some time.
Yeah. So do we have any sense of exactly what has been seized and what's going to happen to that material if there has been material seized?
No, the Department of Justice has been very quiet about this, and the news media in Washington has unsurprisingly been relentless in trying to get any and all confirmation of what exactly is going on. And the Department of Justice has stayed mum the whole time. And similar, as you mentioned before, of the Bob Mueller case, I think this is an instance where they really see no benefit of going to the media and disclosing what they're doing and why. And so that's why I think we probably won't know the details of this for some time, because they want to do this by the book, and they want to do this as carefully as possible.
Jared, what have you made of the response from the Republican Party, you know, even before they know what the FBI have and what they are pursuing?
Yeah, the juxtaposition of this raid of Donald Trump's property, while a number of GOP, of Republican members of Congress who voted to convict Trump in his second impeachment, they're losing their primaries, is a pretty interesting one. So of the 10 members of the House of Representatives who voted to remove Trump from office, about 7 are either retiring, have lost, or about to lose their primary battles. And so I think the Republican Party today is very different from the one that greeted President Trump back in 2016. And right now, what the Republican Party is doing is evidence of that. You have Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who's essentially committed to investigating the FBI and Department of Justice when the Republicans take back the House, which is likely to occur in the midterm elections in November. I mean, they've already gotten the fundraising pitches, the get out the vote messaging. Everyone, even the Republican presidential contenders and possible those who are vying for the same office as President Trump and the same nomination as President Trump, they are even supporting President Trump. Ron DeSantis, who's the leading alternative to President Trump, came out decrying this raid. And so I think it really is a circle of the wagons for most of MAGA world, you'd say. The one exception to that, of course, is Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who famously does not like President Trump, and also it's pretty telling he has not said anything thus far.
Yeah. I mean, it also is something that Donald Trump is playing up to the hilt. He's whipping up his base with this. He's playing it for all it is worth. Does this not play into his hands and his desire to potentially run again?
That's a great question. I think the Department of Justice is really ultimately trying to stay outside of that debate, but politically that's hard to ignore. I mean, a month ago, more than half of American Republicans wanted someone who wasn't Donald Trump to be their nominee in 2024. But then just recent straw polls at conservative political action conferences in the U.S. have seen pretty strong grassroots support for President Trump. And the January 6 hearings that are currently on break until next month have been relentless for President Trump in terms of just terrible news. And even his former chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, has come out criticizing him for what's come out in those hearings. But really, this is, as you said, this plays to what President Trump wants. But my question is, how much of that is a PR strategy versus a legal one? And what is their legal strategy? It seems from a PR perspective, President Trump is winning this. This is a vindication, in his view, of the establishment coming after him. But from a legal perspective, this has to be worrying.
Yeah, and when you talk about it from a legal perspective, if you don't believe a jury of 12 would convict him, then, is there any point?
That's the question, right? And that's ultimately, I think, a question that a lot of members of Congress are asking themselves. So America is the world's oldest still functioning democracy, but maybe not the best functioning one if there seems to be all these holes in the way that our democratic system works. And perhaps there should be basic reforms in Congress about what is allowable and legal for a president to do and what is not. And I think that really puts the onus on those in Congress to not simply complain about any of these issues that they see coming out of President Trump's conduct, but actually legislating.
Yeah, it's really quite extraordinary times. Good to talk as always. Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.